one, go!
Welcome to the Set Count, your source for tournament results, storylines, and analytics set to the tune of your speakers. I'm your host, MVG Vayseth, joined today, slightly lonelier podcast for you guys today. Joined today just by Suar-less. It's going to be you and me today.
Yeah, it'll be a chill show, no Suar. He's actually super busy with the PGR.
Yeah, he's extremely busy with that, plus graduate school. He's got to try to fit it all in and trying to make sure that the last one... Actually, I guarantee you he's not here because he knows that he made some gaffes, and I would have pointed him out.
Yeah, there were a couple. So, Locust is American.
Look, that is totally a meme. I've seen that around multiple times.
I have too, but it probably didn't. It wasn't supposed to show up in the PGR video, so...
Wasn't it in an overlay or something? But whatever.
I think so. Yeah, it actually happened to us and Supergirl Kells. She got the American... Because that was when our stream program froze, yeah, and she got the American flag, and we're like, we can't change it! I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Small things like set counts, which the data evidently wasn't affected, but when you do 50 of these things and you're looking at them and you're putting in data... Pretty easy to do, but Suar's working on fixing that, I guess.
I guess Fallen ended up having... It's happened to him multiple times this PGR where it says he's played someone that he hasn't. Or maybe it was last PGR as well.
Oh, jeez.
He's like... I don't know. I think that's funny. Also, we're here recording, guys, on lovely 4th of July. So if you randomly hear an explosion in the background, it's not because I'm in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's because of July.
Jeez. Yeah, extra special edition. I can hear them, but I think I'm a bit more soundproof. I'm in the studio in the basement, which has some pretty nice insulation. But maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in my work desk area with my mixer and stuff, and there's a window to my left.
Good work.
It's closed. Otherwise, it would actually just sound like a bunch of gunshots through this mic.
For sure. But yeah, as far as what we're up to, super busy. I have a wedding this weekend, and then immediately going to Evo. And then the week after I start my new job, so I'm kind of wrapping up a bunch of stuff. It's crazy. Sage is crazy.
I also start a new job.
Yay, jobs!
I found out I last minute am going to Arm Saga to work Arm Saga.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that will be my official first event under ESA. So I'm flying to Arm Saga Thursday, getting my new apartment, then working Arm Saga, flying back Monday, packing up the rest of my stuff, getting in my car, driving out Thursday again.
So wait, you can drop off some of your stuff in your new apartment already, and then go back with nothing?
Except not really. Well, I'm not driving the first time I'm flying.
No, yeah, that's what I meant. You could take some stuff and drop it off, and then fly back with just yourself.
See, that was my idea. That was my idea, but the only tickets that weren't outrageously expensive were basic economy United Airlines tickets.
Oh,
basic economy means I can only bring a backpack. So we're bumming it for a little while. And I'm going to have no furniture yet because all my stuff ships the next week because I didn't expect to be there for Arm Saga.
Oh.
So I had to call up a friend. I was like, please bring me an air mattress so I have something.
Oh, wow. Fair enough. But yeah, should be fun. Oh yeah, before we get into the other drama that we have going in, what about Nintendo running an ARMS event the same day as Arm Saga?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right?
The belt looks pretty hype, but it's the exact same day. It's really?
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like somebody just decided to do it. They probably didn't even look at 2GG.
Yeah, because it's like the Nintendo store. I think it's more coincidence, but it's kind of funny.
It's probably been scheduled for a while. I can't imagine that they were get fucked, Arm Saga.
Yeah, it was just it's the store tournament. It's not like Nintendo. It was tweeted out from the Nintendo store, not even from regular Nintendo, as far as I know. So
yeah, it's just there's probably no malicious intent behind it. It's whatever. Who cares? It's not like they're gonna pull players from Arm Saga.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, once again to remind everybody, until the new season is unveiled, we won't do the numbers, but I do want to bring up the fact that this past weekend was huge. We had 4 huge tournaments, one in Europe, one in Japan, and 2 in the US, including Midwest Mayhem 9, which you were at, right?
Yeah, so this is one of the first events for Unrivaled where I really took a step back and didn't really direct anything. I kind of just hung out a lot, which To be honest, I was kind of bored.
Oh
Which
yeah, like
sounds really bad, but I actually don't really like going to tournaments that much anymore if I'm not working or like doing something. I like working so much.
no, like it's kind of like I don't know. Well, you would know because you're culinary, but like I remember like my brother worked at like a fast food place. He's like I could never eat there again. It's like once you've been behind the scenes, like you just can't enjoy it the same anymore.
Yeah, so it was a good tournament though for Midas Mayhem 0-1. And the real highlight though was losers finals. Tweak
Oh
versus
yeah,
Nairo.
the Bowser versus Donkey Kong match, like
Yeah,
that was awesome.
that was so good. But other than that, I mean, top eight was kind of awful from like a character perspective. There were 3 Bayonettas, 2 Diddy Kongs, a Corrin, a ZSS. Who am I missing?
Did he?
I
No,
got
you
two
said two
Diddies
Diddy.
in there. Yeah, two
Yeah,
Diddies. I don't know who I'm missing. Someone in there. I don't know. But there were a lot of DLC.
yeah. It was DLC and Diddy, which is the
Yeah,
meta. Which is the meta. But
that
yeah,
is the meta.
yeah. The other tournament in the U.S. was a tournament that MVG streamed. Like a lot of people thought that it was like MVG's return to hosting regional events in Florida, but it's actually the fact that MVG has completely restructured, not doing as many running of events anymore, just focusing primarily on streaming. It's not like we're not going to do events anymore, but it was from what I heard from the team, it was very good. It was very relaxing, unlike when it used to, because running regionals is difficult. So like being able just to stream the regional. And like evidently it was like really good. It was pretty stacked, and they got another one coming up in September. It looks like so. If all goes well, maybe I can go check out the new venue down there. It's pretty cool. So I'm really excited for the direction MVG is going in. So pretty cool
Cool.
stuff all around. But yeah, so that wraps up our weird numbers segment and moves right into our topics of the day, which we want to do the final wrap up on Evo because we were talking about it before, and the numbers are final, and we're working on pools at this point. So if you see, it looks like Mr. Wizard went out there and tweeted the final numbers, and the winner is Sage. 1,500 to 1,800. Well, it couldn't have been closer because it was 15-15. So,
Dude, I told you guys last week, Nostradamus. But yeah, I hit that right on the money.
and then
Like,
got bodied by DBZ.
yes. And then immediately after, like, it was like within 3 hours of that show, of last week's episode being live, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, that DBZ announcement came through, and I was like, wow, I look like an idiot.
I know it's been really busy times for you and I, but that was only last Friday, buddy.
Hey, man. So, interestingly enough, if you didn't see it, Practical Tasks put out a follow-up tweet right after Mr. Wizard that has the percentage of change that each game saw since 2016, including the 2016 entrant list. So, Street Fighter V was at 5,000, little over 5,000. Now it's at 2,600. So it's down by 49% of what it was last year. Smash 4 was at 2,600, and it is now down to 1,500, so down 43%. Melee from 2,300 to 1,400, it's down 40%. Tekken 7, the only game that has seen an increase, went from 549 entrants to 1,278 entrants at a 133% increase.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a new game. Not to say that like it doesn't deserve it, because like everyone's just been really looking forward to Tekken. So yeah, Tekken was involved with Evo last year, but everyone's like, I want Tekken 7. Well, now Tekken 7's here, and evidently it's a really sweet game. So good stuff for Tekken.
Yeah, it was like a different. I didn't really follow what the last Tekken game was, but surprisingly, the only other two games that were at last year's Evo that are also at this year's Evo are Guilty Gear and Marvel vs. Capcom, and those saw roughly they're definitely down. They're down by 9% and down by 17%. So pretty negligible. It's relatively within like a good fluctuation range. But the other ones are very like eye-opening, like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, and it like on this sheet that he has here, it like talks about Injustice, but like you can also look at like the Mortal Kombat numbers too, which aren't there. And a lot of people were getting the impression that Injustice was actually down from what people would have expected. But the point is, like, regardless of all these numbers and whatnot, we're kind of down across the board.
Yeah. Very eye-opening. And one of the things that I think is interesting about Smash 4, so like you look at all these games and you look at what came out and what happened and why their numbers were so monstrous in 2016. Street Fighter 5 just came out, right? Like it was relatively new that year and 5,000 people showed up for it, which is insane, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Street Fighter, is there like a final numbers list somewhere? Cuz I'd be curious if Street Fighter last year beat the whole thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Be crazy.
Oh, you mean like if Street Fighter by itself outplaced the entire entrance of 2017?
Yes.
No. There's well over 7,000 or almost
it-
10 or something like that. Yeah.
No, is it really that much?
Yeah.
Wow.
The unique entrance, because you could just look that up right on Smash GG. See, that's the thing that I feel like a lot of this data is weird because before this year they didn't use Smash GG, so it's kind of hard to track numbers. Like we said earlier last week, I think when CEO was showing like the numbers spike and stuff, like Smash GG tracks all that stuff for you. So like that's one of the many reasons why it's a great platform for TOs to use. But
Oh, absolutely. It's the best registration platform out there currently.
yeah, let me just pull up the attendees list on Smash GG. And total is 6,800. 6,800 uniques plus
Okay.
X amount of spectators, which Evo is a spectator heavy event, probably more spectated than any other event. So we're probably looking at closer to maybe 10,000 badges. I'm assuming by the time it's all said and done.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just interesting to see that last year, if you put Street Fighter and either Smash game together, you beat out this year's entire entrant list.
Yeah, for sure. But like also keep in mind that like those entrant lists don't count the what do you call
The
the
DQs.
crossover? No, the crossover.
Oh yeah.
Like,
True.
keep in mind that there was a huge crossover between Pokken and Smash 4 last year.
Well, yeah.
And
I mean, we talked about it last week where Pokken got like 30% of its bracket DQ'd because people just didn't play it.
well, in addition to that, like when you have 3,000 people showing up, because it wasn't just that Street Fighter was new, it was the first time we got the stadium. It was the first time it was on ESPN. Like that was a huge step up, and like
Well, yeah. Well,
it's
also
probably because of the ramp up that Genesis got. Like, look at this in an arena, and Evo's like, hold my beer, and got a stadium. You know what I'm saying?
well, it doesn't really matter if you take cross entrance from Evo last year because that doesn't mute the point of still 2 games beat out this year's full entrant list.
For sure.
Because like Street Fighter and Smash, how many people cross enter that? Probably none, right?
At least Melee for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Smash 4, maybe you get like a couple here and there, but no like crazy serious amount, right? So even if let's say you had 500 cross entrants, which is way overstating it, it still beats out these numbers for this year.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
possibly.
That's
The
a
only
damning
reason-
fact.
Well, yeah, it's true. It's eye opening for a lot of ways. I don't know if I want to say damning because like there's a couple different ways you can look at it. But like I said, like this year prices increased, but it was pretty much the same package as last year, and it wasn't new and fresh like last year was. So I feel like last year was an outlier, and if we just like look at the numbers from years before, at least Street Fighter V still beat Ultimate Street Fighter 4. Like,
Yes.
if it was lower than that, then I think we have a problem, but it still beat those numbers. So I think we're seeing like that community growth, and like last year should just kind of be written off. And
Yeah.
like for Smash 4 specifically, that was the first year it was truly there because like how many people count customs as like
Right. I was going to bring that up where
yeah.
so many of these games had so many huge pivotal moments for themselves that last year
Mhm.
where I think Guilty Gear was relatively new still for Evo. Street Fighter
Absolutely.
5 obviously like very new. Smash 4, I mean like customs was no longer a customs thing. So it kind of felt new. And we had high hopes going into it that like we're not customs anymore. They gave us the rule set that we wanted or whatever. Besides 2 out of 3, which most games get shafted with anyways.
Mhm.
Melee's numbers being so high, that one's kind of an outlier. I'm not really
No,
sure.
that's literally, I guarantee you the numbers went down because of Not Sunday, and there's no other reason for it.
Well,
You can actually
yeah.
check. You can actually check the video that Armada put out. He went through a couple reasons that he was saying, and like a lot of them like rang home. And I feel like not getting Sunday was literally the only reason because unlike Smash 4, they had a pretty decent schedule. They had Sunday finals. It was hype. Like Evo has always been like a super supported tournament by the Melee community, and like they sort of felt betrayed, and that reflects in the numbers this year. So
Mm-hmm. True.
Like, I feel like that's the main reason, because like I don't know how shafted they truly felt, other than like 2 out of 3, and because Armada himself said like, when I see two good players playing each other in 2 out of 3, I'm like, this isn't real. It's not a real quote unquote set. So it's like kind of hard to get hype over.
I guess. I mean, it's Evo though. Like they have a bajillion games to get
Well,
through
no,
with a bajillion
like
people.
it's not like he was complaining about it, but he's like, I can understand where these numbers come from because of X, Y, and Z, and you could check that out on Armada's YouTube channel, and like he goes through it as well. But I feel like a lot of people were saying, "Oh my God, Evo's dead," but like really, I don't think that this is actually terrible. Like, let's talk about Smash 4 because that's what we're good at. 15-15 is 500 more than our biggest tournament this year. So even with all the trash talking that we had in Evo 2016, rightfully so, for the treatment, we still have 500 more than our leader this year, which was Genesis. And then it doubled Civil War entrants. So
True.
as far as like a game's
Well,
concerned,
I thought Civil War, yeah, almost double because Civil War had what 800 something.
No, it's more than double because it was 753
Was that
or something
it
like
for,
that entrance.
I thought Civil War had like 800 or something.
No, it's. I just looked this up like a second ago, but it's 753.
I believe you.
But yeah, like because
So,
I
yeah.
actually when these numbers came out, I was like, huh, that's interesting, and everyone was like crying, and I was like, hey guys, let's actually look at these numbers and what they mean in the scope of this year. And 15-15 is great. Like,
Yeah, so like if we look at this from a business perspective, which is kind of where I'm tackling it from, you have two options. A, you've done something terribly wrong within the last year, or your last event was wrong or bad or in a way that your percentage of change is negative almost entirely across the board. Or B, last year was solely an outlier and this is more on par. I think looking at 2015 entrant lists versus 2017 is probably a more fair comparison.
yeah, I definitely see that, especially with like the treatment certain communities and stuff got. So like we were expecting a loss, and like with the average perception of Street Fighter V is like a game, and like pros in that scene coming out against the game and stuff, it's really not surprising. And losing 3,000 people, like, well, no, it's not 3,000, it's more like 2,400, but still 2,500, but still, like, that's a lot. That's a Genesis or a Big House amount of people that you just lose.
Right, like you lost a whole major. So on the bright side, it won't be very crammed and for pool play.
Right, and that's the thing is like they're going through all these things to like show that like they got more setups and more space, and they're saying that they're gonna like they really because like these guys aren't just gonna be like, well, whatever, I'm gonna run whatever tournament. Like the Cannons were on our Smash Bros like asking for advice, asking for help, and they brought on Bear full time as opposed to just like a guy to represent the community. And like there's way more integration at this point. Smash GG integration for the first time this year, and like they're really working with these communities. So I think that this year will actually be really good. There should be definitely a lot more space, a lot more setups, and I'm expecting Evo to be really good this year. But looking to the future, I was thinking about it. If you missed out on Smash 4 registration, if you can at all, you probably, if you're a Smash 4 fan, you should be at Evo this year as a spectator. And I'll tell you why. If you think about it, as we said earlier, Melee has dropped numbers significantly, and the only real reason that we can think of that is different from any other Evo, because like obviously they've never had doubles, obviously they've never had 3 out of 5s, is not Sunday slot, and it dropped that much, right? There's really no other reason that isn't like in like consistent with all Melee events since 2013.
Well,
right?
what was the tournament calendar for Evo last year? Like what was around it?
Oh, it's like we talked about before. It was like 3 weeks of nothing.
Yeah,
But-
that's what I thought too. It was like Evo had this sacred ground that no one treaded on, that was just everywhere. And this year it's like Arm Saga DreamHack sandwiching Evo.
Yeah, but like still, Arm Saga doesn't apply to Melee for one.
No, but I'm
And-
still saying not even just Smash 4, but like I feel like Melee less to a degree because obviously they don't have the 2GG stuff every month, but I feel like they also have more options for tournaments.
Oh, that's true.
I
But-
feel like more stuff has not, like Royal Flush obviously this year, brand new tournament. There's been more stuff to go to, so I think that also may have taken a tread on Melee. Same thing, like if you're in the DreamHack region for what's coming up right after Evo, you're not going to spend the $400 or $500 to get there when you could just like drive an hour to DreamHack.
No, yeah, that's definitely true. But the point I was trying to make is I feel like they're gonna look at this and they're gonna be like, okay, the biggest factor for Melee not showing up this year is they weren't in the stadium. So I have a feeling that this is the last year we'll have, and probably the only year we'll have Smash 4 in the stadium. And like the reason why I can think about it that way is like one, like I said, Melee storied. One of the reasons the numbers are down is because they weren't in the stadium. And I don't think Smash 4 really cares either way, to be honest.
We
Like,
care. We definitely Smash 4 definitely cares.
well, yeah, but not nearly as much as Melee as far as like numbers are concerned. So I feel like next year they bring it back to Melee, and then after 2 years, either we're looking at a Switch port or we're looking at an all new Smash. In which case, obviously, that would be the feature for Sunday. So through my extrapolations, I think that Smash 4 this year pretty much it, in my opinion.
I also think that just from the numbers, like looking at them, the percent change of Melee at 40% and Smash 4 at 43%. Smash 4 was given Sunday Finals and Arena, and it has less entrants by a percentage margin than Melee does without the Arena. And I think you look at that, and Mr. Wizard's just gonna be like, all right, why would I give Smash 4 the Arena again? Less of them are showing up than less of Melee, so Melee's gonna get it again.
Yeah, for sure. So either way, I feel like next year we're going to get Melee again. And after 2 years, that's 5 years of Smash 4, we're looking at about the same time frame where new Smashes are coming out. So this could be literally it. So if you did not sign up for EVO, if you did not register, if you are a diehard Smash 4 fan, this is going to be history. I think this is the only time we're going to be in the arena that I could possibly think of.
Right, right. So the thing that I want to talk about though is what does this say for? I guess we already kind of talked about it a little bit of like what does this say for Evo next year, and what does this say about future majors coming up? Obviously, for like majors for 2017 are pretty set, but right now, if I'm a TO, right, like if I'm looking at this and I want to run a massive 1,000-person tournament in March next year, and like I'm really just getting down to my planning and putting out my budget, this is a scary graph to look at. Because the percent change and the number of entrants down from 2016, all these tournaments have been trying to scale up. Is this like the sign of the bubble popping? Do people have to start scaling down?
That's a good like point and possibly a decent theory, but I don't think so. Especially as somebody who was working all day on a couple majors in 2018, I don't think so. And the main reason is I think that we know our communities best and like we can do it. And also keep in mind that like, yeah, Evo's doing this way, but like according to rumors, like this isn't official confirmation or anything, but according to rumors, SmashCon is overperforming this year than any other year at this time. So like they're selling more tickets for SmashCon than they've ever sold this far from the tournament. So I think that SmashCon is going to have a huge numbers. I said in my Big House post, because there was a lot of Big House drama, which I guess we can talk about in a bit, if we really wanted to. That
if we get there,
yeah, we had a record-breaking 24 hours of registrants. We had multiple hundreds of people like sign up. So just seeing the progress that while yeah Genesis went down, that also could be because of the Genesis 3 like drama that happened. Like so it could have gone down. Plus the price was huge. Like it was $100 at one point to get in the venue, like an emergency registration.
right?
So and then but SmashCon looks like numbers are going up. Like we had a record-breaking day one for Big House 7. So I have a feeling that it's possibly just in different ways, and it's basically who gets the right schedule. Like certain people get to the finals because they had a perfect bracket, and like same with the tournaments, like they just have the perfect spot that like gives them the numbers they need.
Right. I think SmashCon's kind of an outlier for me because it's so unique in what it is in comparison to every other event. So like I'm not surprised, especially more and more people are going to anime conventions, more and more people are going to Comic-Con and whatnot. So to see a convention style event do better is like I would fully expect that. And if it wasn't, I would be shocked. But I think Big House for me is going to be that like final note of if Big House's numbers are down relatively universal to what Genesis's were, what Evo's are, then I think that people are going to start worrying about their events and are going to start scaling back. If Big House is up or equal, people are going to be like, oh, these events screwed up, and it's not like the community is losing members, it's just that these events could have done better. Whereas Big House, obviously, Big House 6 was very well received overall. Like, everyone really liked it. So I don't foresee any reason that people would be like, fuck Big House. Outside of, obviously it's pricey and it's a venue change, which is a little different, but I don't think that that's enough for people to sway
Well,
and
the
not
thing about
register
Big House is
solely.
like it started as a melee tournament, and melee numbers will always be high. Like you see all these reels of top players, leaders, everybody going. If you could go to one tournament every year, you go to the Big House, and it's just like so ingrained in like melee that I don't think anything could stop like that tournament from being successful on the melee side. But like on the as far as side events go, like they had PM there. We had a mediocre Big House 5. Like the tournament itself was pretty interesting, but like the actual setup for it was meh. And like, but Big House 6, we had a bit more control, and like the tournament ran on time, and everybody seemed to really like it. Um, and like we had almost 800 people, 777. So like it was pretty good. Do I think we're gonna hit about 800 people this year? Considering what I know about this year, maybe not. Would the event be a failure if we didn't? I don't think so, especially if like the melee numbers continue to grow. So like we also have to keep in mind about the other things. Unlike Evo's numbers are down almost across the board. I would probably think Big House 7, if I were being completely honest with myself. Smash 4 is going to get about the same, maybe a little bit less, and melee will grow because that
That's
tournament.
that's what I want to see. Like, regardless, if Smash 4 ties itself, okay, like it's not as much to worry about. If Smash 4 goes down a little bit, okay, kind of like Smash. Obviously, the oversaturation thing is a thing, and I guess it's not really a Smash 4 tournament. Like it's not their focus or whatever. But if Melee goes down for whatever reason, with Big House being such a prominent Melee event, like, all right, now this is an issue. People aren't spending their money on tournaments anymore, like in the same way that they were in 2016. Like, there's no arguing that at that point, right?
I mean, yeah, it's possible, but that's going to be our job, right, Sage, to make sure we get those butts in the seats and show people like how awesome an event it'll be. And as soon as we're ready to make more announcements about it, we'll definitely make it on schedule like we do every year.
Right, right.
So
So I think you'll look at people will look at SmashCon numbers, and then people will look at Big House numbers, and we'll have this nice pool of data collected of Big House, SmashCon, Genesis, Evo, CEO. Because I don't think I've seen a single major this year top last year. We've seen nothing but negatives in the
right,
percent change.
right. That was something that I mentioned in an earlier show where like most majors were on par to grow by 10 to 15%, and this year most majors have been going down by 10 to 15%.
Even more, some down by 20, 30%. We're seeing Evo at 40. So it's pretty crazy to see those numbers when we were all, it felt like things have been growing, but I think post Big House is really going to be the time when a lot of people come together, if there are negatives, and go, okay, what is wrong? Why aren't people coming to these events as much anymore? Why aren't we able to grow our business? Because ultimately it's a business, right? Like, you have to look at it that way when money's involved.
For
So
sure,
like,
it's
why,
definitely a business.
right? So it's like, why aren't our customers spending their money here? Why are they going elsewhere? And if SmashCon grows, I think 2018 you're going to see a lot more events catered to that style, where it's
Oh yeah,
not
I mean they
just.
should. We've been talking about that
Oh
forever.
yeah, yeah, we have been for sure. But I think this is like a very obvious point versus us just saying it.
Oh yeah, and like it'll definitely be quote unquote the death of the traditional bracket grassroots tournament. That's for sure. Not quite
Yes,
the death, but definitely like
the beginning
the
of the end.
yeah, like we've been given 6 months to live type. I don't know what that's called. My
Yeah,
English
man,
is failing me right now.
you're on your death sentence.
Yeah.
So we will see. Big House, I think, is the point that I personally will be watching as far as numbers. And if we see any negatives across Melee, especially Smash 4, depends on the negative, right? Like, if 300 people show up, like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Uh,
I could definitely see that, but as like being well, yeah, if we have less than if we have less than Frostbite, that's definitely a problem. If we have more than Frostbite, like I think I'm perfectly happy with that, but obviously I'm going to try my best to match the numbers from last time. And it's pretty crazy. We already have multiple top 10 people signed up. Multiple Japanese players have said that they're going. Like Amsa says he's going, and he registers for both games. Umeki and Samsora are going to be teaming at the event.
Yeah, so you got a lot of talent. It's really cool. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it. Hopefully it goes well. But like I said, keep an eye. But
Yep.
anyways, we do have one other topic we wanted to get to.
Yay, the rewrite.
Yay!
So
So
literally moments before we started recording, some big news hit the Twitterverse. So basically, there's a couple tournaments that haven't been paying out lately. Like, I think most people know what they are, but it's not going to be our position to like just give a further voice for which ones haven't paid out. Like, you can go on Twitter and you can find
someone's
out.
gonna twit longer it. Within
Yeah.
like the next few days, I guarantee someone's gonna twit longer it.
So
But
we were doing so well in 2017 too. Like, this was a problem that we've had for multiple events for a long time. And like 2017 was looking like the year where like everybody was getting paid and we were kind of over this. And all of a sudden within the last month we have multiple majors that are slow on payments.
yeah, it happens more than people think. A lot more than people think. It's happened a few times in 2017 already. But
Yeah. If you're a top player, I think this is just kind of like normal business for you. Like, it just sort of happens. They're kind of used to it, which is why nobody ever really heard about it before, because it's like sort of expected, and like people cheer for when people pay like day of for sure, and like within the week for sure. And the only reason why they're cheering it is because that's not the norm.
right, it's so weird that that's not the norm. It's because people promise this money that they don't have yet for pot bonuses. Like a sponsor comes in and is like, "Yeah, we'll give it to you." But chances are that sponsor doesn't have that money until like their financial quarter is over, and that's when their next wave of sponsorships goes out or something. So a lot of the times what happens is they're like, "Yeah, pot bonus in February, cool, you won't get it till March 31st."
Right.
You just get boned that way. So it's irresponsibility on the TO's part for having no contract like established before announcing it. It's irresponsibility across like everyone involved with the tournament for advertising it in any way without confirmation for their side. And it's just it's a really bad look.
Yeah, I think obviously things happen, and like let's actually just break down the issue. And it's definitely more 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a sponsor being late in payment, like,
Or backing out entirely.
right. So that is obviously on the TO, but also it's not entirely the TO's fault the majority of the time, because they were given, like, I'm a TO. Somebody was like, I'm gonna give you $10,000 pop bonus. I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna advertise your product and like make sure that everybody knows who you are, and thanks for giving $10,000 to make sure that this tournament is super reputable. And then like it goes to pay, and I've advertised it, and people are like, where's my money? I was like, well, I got to get it from the sponsor. And the sponsor's like, well, I need 30 to 60 days, which is normal. Like, in the business world, this is normal. But like, for people not really familiar with that, that's going to kind of come as like, yo, this is shady, you're not paying out. Because we've been wrong so many times before with these big companies that just never paid out. So everybody's just very, very, very skeptical when they see stuff like that. So yeah, at the end of the day, TOs, make sure you get it in writing. Make sure you have a pay by date. And
Yeah, it's just like it's rough. So but if you're a player, like that's something that you're never gonna see, right? The TO isn't gonna be like, hey, look, we have a contract, our pop bonus is real. No, like they're just gonna advertise numbers and people are gonna register.
yeah.
But as a player, like what are the steps you have to go through to like try to avoid that?
Well, so
Are there
basically,
any?
yes, there definitely are. So when I've definitely done tournaments in the past, like for example with Frostbite, like I just avoided that whole issue by just making it entirely out of the pot. And that has pluses and minuses. Like obviously pot bonuses, like you say, they bring in numbers, brings in like some people will argue good or bad, but it brings in a higher PGR rating. There's like a lot of reasons you want to have a pot bonus, but it's just as good, just as much good it does bad sometimes. And it comes up in forms like this. So if you're a
Sometimes
player,
is a key word though. Pop bonuses are great
correct.
when everything goes correctly.
So if you're a top player, somebody who's regularly placing the money, like this is definitely something that, like, this is your job. So you can talk to the TO. The TO wants you to go, so they're willing to work with you. So I have no problem if I have a pot bonus at my tournament for you to come to me and be like, yo, like, is the pot bonus guaranteed? Is it paid 30 days, paid 60 days? What's the deal? Is it guaranteed by a sponsor? Do you have it up front? Blah, blah, blah. If it's an MVG event, I can guarantee you we have it right there on front. And like when people lost, the moment they lost a Frame Perfect Series 2, I handed them their money and or a tax form. Like that was it. And I just know that like that's just how MVG likes to do things. But not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the resources to eat the cost on the behalf of the company and then have the company wait. Like Evo can pay out day of. That's another company that always pays out immediately. That's because they have the capital available to wait for the sponsorship checks. But your average Joe, they only have what came in. They're just a guy who works at 9 to 5 or whatever, and they can't like put up all this thousands of dollars and wait for the sponsorship to come in to like pay them back, quote unquote. So if you're a top player, definitely ask the TO where's the money coming from, and you can always double check with like an organization that like has a history of paying out in a certain time. And if they don't, then like you call them on it. It's like, it's like I'm not gonna register if like it takes forever, and then you can have like verbal contracts with them or whatever. But like the number one thing is just always talk to the TO and like try to figure out where this money's coming from, because if you're gonna be a top player and you're regularly placing the money, like this is your job. Like you definitely need it for your livelihood.
I think a big thing is just like having that message of just a pay by date. And I feel like tournaments, if they want to move away from this stigma, might have to start advertising or giving players pay by dates.
Yeah.
And that is, I feel like if you're a top player, that's an appealing aspect of, I know I'm going to get paid. Like if I'm Zero, if I'm Nairo, whatever, I know I'm going to get paid that by this date. And if I don't, I can reasonably call them out and be like, this was the pay by date. I didn't get it. Like,
right.
Here we go.
Like another thing that you could possibly do, like on TOs, let's say you have this $10,000 pop bonus coming in, but it's going to be late. You still have the $10 per person that came in that's entry fee that you shouldn't be touching anyway. So you can be like, look, we'll pay out the entry fee money right away, and then once the sponsorship money comes in 30 to 60 days, we'll get that to you later. And I think that that's like a fair compromise. I don't think it's a problem to pay out twice. I haven't looked into it, so there might be like tax issues or whatever, but like that's like another thing that I could think of that like maybe that's something you could do.
Yeah, that's a sketchy range when you're staggering payments.
True.
Because you want to just put out, then you're doing like I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know the tax laws on that. I'm not. So
yeah,
I'm not
me
gonna
neither.
comment.
So like, if I'm just like spitballing. Like I'm just thinking like if I was running an event and I had this situation, like what would I personally do? And like I feel like that would be something I would look into. Is just like okay, and like just make sure that like you have pop bonus paid out in 30 days, but entry fees paid out immediately or whatever. Like
Right. The other
do
scary thing, like if you're a TO, you can't really publicly be like, hey, this company hasn't given us their money yet because they said they won't have it till like end of quarter 2, and then they'll get it. So everybody wait 4 months. All of a sudden that company sees that tweet, that sees that message or whatever. Like they could very easily try to argue that that's breach of contract or that's negative publicity and that's not what they agreed to, and now they're not going to pay you.
Yeah, like there's multiple different things. So if
So
you're a
going public
TO,
with
make
it.
sure you protect yourself, make sure you get it in writing, and make sure you know exactly what you can and can't say, so that way you're not screwed and like blacklisted from the community.
Yeah.
And
I
if
think
you're
we're
a player,
gonna
just like do the same thing. Just double check with the TO. Like they have no reason to lie to you.
Yeah, like if some TO is like if I message a TO, I was like, yo, like when could I reasonably expect to get paid by this event? And they're gonna be like, oh, the next day. And then 2 weeks go by, it's like, well, what the hell? Like now all of a sudden it doesn't look bad if you put them on blast on Twitter. It's like now it's their fault.
Yeah,
Because
like
they
then
lied
it's
to you.
specifically the TO. Yeah.
Yeah. So but if you message the TO and he's like, hey man, like the sponsor won't have the money till end of quarter 1, so it's gonna be about a month and a half. Is that okay? Like, and if you know it's a month and a half, like at least you have an idea of the exact date, right?
Oh wait,
So
what
you can-
tournament was it? The tournament that was in Ontario recently, the Saints Gaming tournament that came in. Like they actually announced that payments would be in 30 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
like
now that
it's just
player,
communicate that to people, and like most people are completely fine with it.
yeah, now that player can plan for it versus never knowing when your money's coming in.
Right,
But like,
right.
what was that tournament? The Melee tournament that took like years to pay out.
Is it? I know it was Plank and Pound. It was a
Yeah,
Pound.
it's Pound,
tournament.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like situations like that end up happening where if the TO didn't protect themselves or players like didn't do something about it, whatever, I guess like they worked it out and eventually did well for it.
Well, I mean, he had to pay it out because Pound happened in 2016, so he
Yeah,
eventually paid it out, and then they could do another Pound, but like
right. So stuff happens. Like, work with your TOs on pay dates, but get pay dates. Don't just allow it to. Don't just be like, no, I don't like. To just go and assume or whatever. Yeah, you got to be. I think players are gonna have to start be a little more proactive in their business sense because it is so much money on the line now, and TOs are gonna have to be a little more active other than just, yeah, we'll pay you. Yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I'll like send you a message. Yeah, I'll pay you tonight. And 2 days go by. Yeah, I'll pay you tonight now. Hey man, sorry, I forgot. I'll pay you tonight. Like, it happens. It's happened to us as staff like before. So
oh yeah, that's what I was gonna actually just follow up and say. Like, this isn't just for protecting players and TOs, but like if you're staffing events, make sure that like you also know because like 9 times out of 10, staff are the people who get paid last. So like if they have extra resources, usually TOs will prioritize paying the venue, paying off anything to make sure that like they're falling within their contracts. Then they're gonna go and they're probably going to play the players, and then their paid staff from the Smash Brothers community, like their streamers, TOs at the TO desk, etc. Like those guys generally get their money last, just in normal payment hierarchies that I'm familiar with. So staff members are probably already pretty used to getting paid last, except for in certain circumstances. But
like, yeah,
yeah, just make sure.
that happened to us one too many times where payment didn't really come through because our invoices never had pay by dates, right? So it happened twice where it was a struggle to get the payment until finally it was like forget it, we're just gonna do pay by dates. And now if that doesn't come in, like if I send you the invoice and you sign off on it, like you're paying me by that date, and it's just that's how real business works. It's not like I'm being a dick. That's just how the world is.
Right, and somebody said on Twitter it was something like nobody likes it when their paycheck is delayed. This happens in the real world at 9 to 5 jobs too. You know what I mean? Like, obviously stuff happens and like sometimes paychecks are late, but like there's a difference even in the workplace or over at a tournament where if you're being communicative or not, and like that is going to be the difference between being put on blast and not being put on blast, which is why a lot of people don't know that this is a completely normal thing because most of the time TOs are very upfront about like where and when payments are going to be happening, whereas when you don't, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah. So it's definitely an issue. It's an issue that shouldn't be an issue, but it is an issue. And yeah, it's a lack of professionalism, it's a lack of business understanding and things like that within the scene. And I think it's just because, yeah, we are so grassroots, right?
Yeah, just protect yourself. You just got to protect yourself. And like another reason, like if you use a lot of these TOs who are trying to get in the game, they don't understand this at a fundamental level. So then like when they get slapped with the situation, it's their first major that they've ever done, like they get confused. So like another thing that you can do to protect yourself is go with an established tournament. Like how many times can we say to like go with an established tournament? Because chances are you can like learn from them, you can see the inner workings, and like you could just help the Smash scene grow where we get bigger events and we don't have this oversaturation issue. Because I think one of the main reasons is because a lot of these tournaments that aren't paying out, they're first year tournaments and they never had these problems and experiences before. So going with veteran staffers and staff teams and TOs is definitely another way that you can protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's a pretty good wrap-up point for that topic. But I think there's a good point for the runback. We have one good question that I wanted to get to before.
Wait. Are you saying it's a good time for the runback?
Runback.
I thought I was going to be able to do it and not have you say it. I tried.
Hell no. This is why the people tune in. Make sure you add the Sect on Twitter and let them know how much you love it.
Please don't. Or we're all gonna get him to stop one day.
It's possible.
Every week I'm gonna try to like weasel it out, and we're gonna try to skip it.
Just distract me. Like message me in the chat and be like, "Hey, Vayseth, look," and then I'll just miss it.
I'm gonna have like a friend call you.
I'm
like,
all right,
no. Go. Okay. Anyways, guys.
Yeah.
We received a Twitter DM from @EdwardWare13. He writes, Hello guys, I'm a college student from Tennessee, currently working in AV production and audio engineering. As someone who has been working in this field for 5 years, I want to inquire of something for streaming, as this is something I deal with on a weekly basis and feel like something I actually could help the community with. When designing layouts for tournaments, what is the inspiration, as many sports have extremely simple and streamlined interfaces? This is something most streamers stay away from and opt for the most detail possible. Why is this? Also, shoutouts to Sage for being one of the only streamers who knows how to make a solid audio mix. Yeah,
Hey, getting a
thank
shout
you.
out. Well, this is a
Also,
perfect question to have without Suar because I think this is primarily a Sage question, and neither of us really have a lot of input. So just take it away, buddy.
yeah, well, first off, I got to give a shout out to Duck Pony, our audio engineer, for anything really large from like Frostbite. From Showdown on, Duck Pony has been working with us for audio for anything very large. So if you like the major audio mixes, like he's the dude that does it. So huge props to him. I handle all the other audio mixes for anything smaller. He and I talk a lot about it as well. So it's good team dynamic. But anyways, why do streamers go for a bunch of detail versus a little bit of information and like a small thing?
Streamlined interface.
Yes, that's exactly what he said. Streamlined interface. So basically, if I'm flipping through channels, like for the NBA, for the NFL, whatever, those are very established things, right? You could have a little box that says Bears in Comic Sans versus 49ers in a completely different font and numbers next to it, and people will watch. 100%. Not that I'm saying that like it's what they're doing isn't needed, because it obviously looks very good and it works. There's constant huge production going on in video game tournaments, and the thing that a big reason that why we kind of opt for more information is better, because like picture in picture is such a present thing in video game tournaments. That being like there's a gameplay camera, there's two other cameras where you have to show the players. Like people want to see a lot of the times multiple cameras at once, and picture in picture is a hard thing to show a lot without it looking weird if you don't have some sort of interface for it. So that's one reason. Another reason is it is way easier to find things to just X out of in Twitch and move on to something else than it is to like turn off the NFL broadcast, right? Like, yeah, you can flip the channel up, but chances are you're going to watch sports. Like, you're watching sports, you're going to watch it. For Twitch, you can jump to almost anything at will. Like, there is always other esports broadcasts going on. There's always more video game content. There's other people playing your same game. So, like, no matter what, it's hard to deal with that. So you have to have something that's interesting enough that to a bunch of people with a tiny attention span to show. And in comparison, like, the average age of the MLB viewer right now is like 57 versus the average age of the esports viewer is like 28. So the attention span
is that high?
Yes.
Oh.
Actually. But that's why people are getting into esports so much, because every sports broadcast, the average age is 40 something or up. Whereas esports is like 28, depending on the game, right? Some games vary.
True.
League of Legends is like a little older, whereas CSGO as well, older. So like obviously your two biggest games pad that number a little bit. Smash Brothers a little younger. So it varies. But you have to cater to this shorter attention span. So we try to always have the information present that needs to be shown in like an interesting way that people won't go, oh, hey, look, and then eventually like get bored and move to the next tab. So there's a lot of stuff that goes behind it. Overlays have been starting to work towards more simplistic, but it varies. Like we tried a very like overstated overlay in Frostbite, and then we tried a very understated overlay in Smash and Splash. And then there are people who like the Frostbite overlay more. There are people who like the Smash and Splash overlay more. Personally, I am a big fan of simplicity. I would love to just do like a little score bar on the bottom and that's it. But people want cameras. People want all these things that they have had since it wasn't so simplistic. Because like when streaming first started, it was like just nonsense everywhere, right? Like it was just chaos. So people got used to player cams. People got used to all these different things. So now if you don't do them, it doesn't feel like the norm, which can damage your viewership.
Well, I think the thing about player cams specifically is for as much space and as much trouble that is for actual broadcasting, there's like that 1 in a million chance that like a player cam's going to capture something amazing, kind of like at UGC where it was Mr. R like doing the yes and Bear doing the yes at the same time, and like that
Yeah,
turned into a GIF, but like that was captured, on a player cam. So like every once in a while you'll get something that turns into a GIF. So now everybody wants to make sure, so they
right.
have that just in
And
case.
that's so present for social media too, where like someone tweeting out a dumb GIF of Bear and Mr. R going yes, it's huge exposure if like 5 different top players retweet it because it's funny. And all of a sudden our stream has like more to it, whereas that's not a possibility with no player cams. The last reason, and in my mind, the biggest reason, is simply because we do not have the equipment or the crew to do these massive productions. In the NFL, how many different camera angles are constantly running? Same with the MLB. Like, there are a bajillion camera angles. There's the behind the pitcher for the MLB. There's one straight in on catcher. There's almost a camera for every player on the field, as well as like multiple crowd cameras that are available. All these different options, right? So you're able to create this like dynamics through your cameras. Whereas for a lot of streamers, what do they have? 2 cameras, 3 cameras, tops, 4 cameras, maybe if they're lucky.
Yeah, like if you
So
include commentary.
yeah, so if you cut to a camera, a full screen camera, like, and that's it, and that's all you have to show with like a little gameplay. Let's say even if you wanted to show gameplay with it, a little picture-in-picture on the top left, that's a really boring scene to have for possibly like 2 to 3 minutes if a coach is called or whatever, right?
Right.
You're just stuck there. So a lot of people choose to go with this design overlay where there's at least some more interesting information on board, where they can display all these different options, just so that you can kind of bring in a little bit more information, so that when you're just sitting on screen, there's more to see and there's more to keep someone watching.
I have actually possibly a way to interject in this. So with video games, there's like all kinds of people, and like each game has its own community. So let's say Smash gets really big, and someone who's not a Smasher gets and sees it on Twitch, and they're like, "Oh, there's a Smash Brothers game here. Let's check it out." Like, isn't having pretty detailed overlays like another way to sort of like get people not familiar with the game into it? Because like you said earlier, the sports like or whatnot, everybody knows what those are, so you don't really need a super detailed overlay. Whereas a game like Smash Brothers doesn't have as big of a scope or scale or mainstream appeal. So when you do get people to click on it, it's good to have as much detail as possible, so then they can kind of like look around and try to figure it out as they're watching the match. Like, would that
Right.
actually be a good?
I think detail is important, but I don't think you need to sacrifice detail and information to make it not simplistic. Like, you can still do a really simple, clean design with a lot of information. Like, I think if let's say we cut the player cams out of the Smash and Splash overlay, right? And it was just that little bottom bar, we were still able to, in a very simplistic manner, display the country, like their flag, display their sponsor's logo. So we're able to show a little PG or whatever. We were able to display the score. We're able to display the round, the players' names. If it was best of 3 or best of 5 through the score ticks. So it's just like you have all this information available, and there are ways to do it cleanly. It's just a lot of people, I think, are stuck in that old way. Whereas, I mean, even us, like sometimes like I jump back a little bit into like what the norm is, because if you jump so far ahead, people aren't going to be interested. Like, I've seen other streams do these little, almost, I guess, like soccer like things or whatever, where they have in the top left, that's the only part of their screen that's covered in gameplay, and it's just like the 2 guys' names right on top of each other with their character and the score, and that's it. It's like, yeah, that looks really clean because it's really open, but it also, like, for some people, it's not instantly recognizable as a Smash Brothers stream, and like it looks cool and I think it's awesome, but there are a bunch of people who would outcry if that was like at a major.
Yeah, I definitely am looking forward to more minimalist things that we could
I
possibly
love
do.
minimalist.
I really
Yeah.
want to see the player names on the character things again. That was like super cool. But
Oh, the one we did for the PG key stream for Big House, as well as Show Me Moves.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to do it really badly. I just want to do I want to set up something so that when characters go by, we have an option to hold a button and it'll fade a little bit. And I also want to set it up so it rotates the character name along with the player name, which is all super doable. I just need to actually set it up.
Yeah, and program it all and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah.
Good question. Thank you. And I think that'll be pretty much it for the show. So, Sage, I know you've been talking for a while, but, do your thing. Get us out of here.
So thank you guys for tuning in every week. As always, we appreciate it. I hope you guys can't hear those massive fireworks that are outside my window right now. But as always, you guys can find us on Google Play, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, and I'm missing one. What did I miss?
Google
I don't
Play.
know. You guys
iTunes,
will figure it out. SoundCloud, the one we're always on. The one that we started on. How did I forget SoundCloud? That's where our RSS feed is hosted. So you guys can also directly download these episodes on SoundCloud in case you didn't know. So you can grab them from Wi-Fi. The downloads are available. And yeah, as always, if you guys have any questions for us, definitely hit us up on Gmail at thesetcount@gmail.com or on Twitter at thesetcount. Our DMs are open.
Awesome stuff. Nice quick episode. Busy people, fireworks. This was a very explosive episode, if I do say myself. It'd be funny if you find a way to get rid of all the firework noises. Nobody knows, but yeah.
They might not have actually even shown up in the recording. Who knows? Who knows if they're actually there? I haven't listened.
I definitely heard them, and it was pretty epic while you're making some of your points. But anyway, this has been MVG Vayseth.
And Unrivaled / I guess now eSports Arena Sage.
And we will catch you next week.